Welcome back. We will start with Batgirl, Volume 6, Number 9, The Three Swords, Part 1 of 3. Writer Tate Brombal, artist Takeshi Miyazawa, colors Mike Spicer. The hunt is on. Batgirl is on the run, but not for long. As three deadly warriors from the League of Shadows, the Blood of Wu, and the Unburied each trail her. Cassandra Cain arrives at a ranch seeking answers from her mother's past, but time is running out. As shocking family ties unravel, the first of the three swords arrives, hell bent on ending Batgirl's story for good. I do enjoy this cover here where you have Batgirl fighting off three distinct warriors, though it's a bit of a lie because that doesn't happen. But I am interested in, you know, who these people are and what the fight sequences will look like. About that. I am interested. So, yes, remember I kind of took a break last time and I thought, well, I'm not going to review it as much. I'll say what Donovan had told me and move on from there. But I think I'm back into reviewing because I didn't think that this was bad necessarily, but I also did not think that it was very good. And I do have some complaints. And yeah, I would love to hear from Cassandra fans what you think about this, because the only Cassandra fan that I communicate with is Donovan, and we seem to be on the same page. And I think it hurts him more than it hurts me since this is his favorite character. I'll start off by just saying that this is it's a striking image, but also very odd to see Cass, of course, on a black horse, potentially a black stallion, in full regalia. I feel like it speaks symbolically like what is actually happening, that perhaps emotionally she's separating herself from what has happened, what is going on, that she is that she is Batgirl rather than Cassandra. But I feel like I would have liked for it to be Cassandra, because I think when you see Cassandra and Cassandra maybe with that same speech bubble saying Lady Shiva is dead, I think that carries a bit more emotional weight. But really, from the get-go, this whole thing is just the emotions I think are way off, and I think inappropriate and also confusing. uh, what is happening. She is immediately aggressive towards Bronze Tiger, and this does not let up throughout the entire uh, story. And this aggression carries to other characters as well. And in the next issue, I'm going to talk about, I feel like Cass doesn't necessarily emote as much. I think that she does emote at times, but I think that she's subtle in the ways that she shows her emotions and what she's feeling. And this just doesn't, for me, work for that character because it's so intense. It's intense in what she's saying. It's intense in all of the analysis, the body analysis that she is also pulling through or pushing on us, I guess. Um, this part of the conversation was confusing. It's powerful if you take it separately, but together it doesn't make sense. So she's talking, Lady Shiva was forged by her suffering. Her world was always worse, but in the end, my mother chose to save me, her only child. So right there, it's like, look at how beautiful that is. Like, are you listening to the words that you're saying, that your mother chose to sacrifice herself for you, in spite of how she has treated you in the past, or kind of her ways, her character? Look at what she has done. And in saving someone, you kind of free them to do what their destiny or fate is allowing them to do. So, like, we could have stopped with that one, but instead we keep going, and we say her suffering is now my suffering. Where's that coming from? Has that been thrust upon you? You're saying Shiva has bestowed that? Because that is not, when you say that someone has saved you, the point is not that they give you their suffering. So are you taking that burden on? So like those two don't really, those panels do not match up for me. It seems like she has to take this suffering on, but I just feel like that was not what Shiva's point was necessarily in saving her and dying. Um yeah, it could be biblical if we're thinking about the sin of the father will be visited upon the son. Maybe I think you have to consider what that actually means, but this just seems at odds with what happened and what she is saying. Um, she continues to be aggressive towards him. She's attacking him. Look at you, sad, alone, displaced. Who is this? Cassandra doesn't go after people like that. I don't understand why she's attacking him either. And that, of course, has to relive the past. And so maybe, if we were to try to explain this, perhaps it's hurt feelings over how he pushed her into, her bad cycle of being an assassin, maybe. Um, but then, you know, the unnecessary but cliched fight between heroes. I don't know why this has to happen. And it's not the only unnecessary cliched fight between two people that will happen in this. So she keeps demanding, who is the Jade Tiger? Show me the Jade Tiger. Where's the Jade Tiger? And then the Jade Tiger pops up. And so now well, first I should say that you see like parenting in a relationship. Bronze Tiger is trying to protect Jade Tiger, but he's been training for this, so he decides to go all out. The fight scene is well drawn and well choreographed, but why it had to happen, I don't know. Especially as we get to the revelation that the Jade Tiger is Cassandra's half brother. So, revelations. She does not react well to this. She basically says no multiple times, refuses three times, it looks like, gets bigger and bigger, tricolon crescent, and then pushes him away. And Donovan has told me this is not the first time that surprise siblings have popped up. So I guess, she should be used to this sort of thing. But she's certainly not excited to see him. And I jokingly said that Cassandra probably wouldn't be excited to meet herself either. But yeah, so here we go. And his language is funny. I guess ironically funny because he's been waiting a long time to meet her, and he's been training for this for his entire life, and because she's seen as this great fighter. And I'm just like, wow, this is similar language, isn't it, to Cassandra, thinking about that in terms of Lady Shiva in the original. So yeah, it certainly, both fights rather, could have been prevented with an actual conversation. And then at the end, we have the first person show up. So as I said, we were lied to in the cover. There was something I skipped, which was interesting. Some things that Bronze Tiger was saying. Ah, don't go down this path, Cassie. Vengeance only kills. There's no life in that. And she says, "What life?" And it's just interesting that he feels the need to lecture her about vengeance when she should already know this from Batman. Like, this is an unnecessary conversation. I don't know why she's saying what life. She clearly has one. She should probably, he even says, return to Gotham to your family of bats before those fists get any bloodier and the world gets worse. So, yeah, I don't know. It's almost as if Batman were here right now, but she is just this character that appears to have heard none of that ever before. So it's just interesting to be sure. Um, Yeah, so I guess my final thoughts are just on the fact that Shiva has another child. There are some people in this world I think that should probably not have children for various reasons. And I think that Shiva is probably one of those people. You know, Cass turned out okay, but there's some trauma there and she almost wasn't. And it was really only okay in the end because of Batman and Barbara. And it looks the same to be true for Jade Tiger, that I think he's turning out okay because of Ben. This also means that she dropped not one, but two children on the father, either hoping for the best or really not caring at all. I'm hoping that we get not in a lewd way, but I would like to understand when and why Shiva and Ben got together. I think it was kind of in a similar way as Cassie and Tim, if you remember from 52, because of shared grief for Carolyn. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But yeah, it's I guess it just seems odd and it just doesn't seem like Cassandra Cain right now. But that's just my opinion. So Cassandra Cain fans, you let me know what you think about all of that. I'm gonna give this, I don't know, maybe a 5 out of 10 secret siblings. The art is nice. You can always talk about the art, and the artist does well to explore the complicated feelings that Cass is showing, even though I may disagree with the fact that those complicated feelings exist at all. So there you go. Okay, well, let's move on to something that I enjoyed, and that is Birds of Prey, Volume 5, number 23. Wow, I think I said something wrong in my before. Oh, well. On the Run, Part 4 of 5. Writer Kelly Thompson, penciler Sami Basri, inker Vicente Cifuentes, and colors Adriano Lucas. Bruised and battered, with one teammate lost to the enemy and another now missing, the birds split up and disappear into the darkness of Gotham at Black Canary's command. The Shadow Army has struck at the very heart of the Birds of Prey, and now has all the pieces to create its game-changing weapon. I will say I enjoy this cover. However, again, another lie, because that seems like, unless the cover artist is trying to make it to be like ink, it reminds me of, I can never remember her familiar. Oh, let me see. Poe. I can't ever remember that. I don't know. I should thank Edgar Allan Poe, Dark Creature. But this just looks like Poe, uh, Sayla's familiar, the shadow thing that she has around. So it's kind of, again, another lie, but it is cool nonetheless. So, I hate to call someone a hypocrite, but Dinah decides to follow orders and protocol now. So, after the headquarters has exploded, Cass and Sin immediately want to go into the building and get Babs, or see if she's okay or even still alive. And Donna's like, no, we've got this protocol, the one that Oracle has built. And so I just find it nuts a bit that, this is the time that she decides to kind of follow, not kind of, to follow the restrictions that Barbara has given, when previous to this, that was a source of tension between the two of them, which is brought up in Sorrow again. So there you go. I find it interesting, or found it interesting, and something that I really liked in really wordless panels, how each of these members are dealing with grief and the potential loss of Barbara. But I can also tell that since they don't know for sure, you always got to look for the body, right? that there's still some hope in their actions, because I think that they would actually be way more despondent, but I think that they're holding out hope that they know who Barbara is to the core, and that she's prepared for such eventualities, and that she's probably the smartest person that they know and the most capable, and so she probably is okay. So Cass's, I think, is interesting, and I think that it has various interpretations that could be attached to what's happening because again it's wordless. She goes into an alley as Batgirl, comes out as Cass. She goes to get some food, and then she looks behind her and sees two friends, I assume, kind of struggling over getting a tattoo or not, right? So, and then Cass leaves with her food uneaten, her ramen. And I look at this one panel, I looked at it for a while to kind of figure out what's going on because you have to look at everything, where the one girl is saying, Nora, you promised. The other girl says, I changed my mind. And Nora says, come on, it'll be fun. And drags her friend to get a tattoo. Hopefully they get the same tattoo or something that's thematically similar. So it is interesting that one of them is dark haired and one of them is blonde. So on the surface, you could be like, oh, that's, it could be Cass and Steph, but Cass would definitely not be the person to be dragging Steph into things. But you could think, oh, maybe she's reflecting that. But really, I do think that this is what roles she's kind of reminiscing about is Barbara and herself. That Barbara was that first person to kind of pull her out of just being Batgirl, just being someone who's training with Batman and wanting to be Batman, and actually pulling her into, potential discomfort to live and be an actual, 16-year-old at the time, and making her do things that might be uncomfortable, but in the end are, good for her. And I think that that's how I interpret it anyways, because I think that's one of the beautiful aspects of Barbara Gordon, is that yes, she has that mothering aspect, so she knows what's good for you, but also I think there's kind of this big sister too thing too. And this is how I explain what I do to my friends like Harry when I make him do things that he would not ordinarily do, because I think it's good for him. But I do like that particular scene. And then we have Sin, who is going, well, hopefully she paid for that, but she did have to go and get a hoodie that says, I love Gotham City, I assume, and then goes to an arcade and is playing around and playing or not playing, I don't know, but trying to keep her mind off of it. And I find it interesting that, the entity within her, who is typically very cold, is the one that is, giving her encouragement and saying Oracle is very clever and Barda is as strong as they come. It'll be okay. So I appreciate that as well. And then of course we have Dinah. I think we had to save Dinah for last because of them being BFFs. And she initially wanted to go to the library, which, again, on the surface, maybe because it's calm and she can kind of sit there with her thoughts. But I also think like Barbara was, initially a librarian. And so if you lose someone, would you not go someplace that makes you feel like you're with that person because it reminds you of them? But she goes to a bar, and then a guy starts to hit on her, and it's just the wrong girl, the wrong day, wrong everything. It's not your fault, but you should probably walk away before you go through the plate glass window. And he does. And then she says, Babs, if you're dead, I'm going to kill you. Because I think if Barbara Gordon did ever die, that would really wreck her. I think even more than Oliver Queen, to be honest. So again, yeah, I think Thompson does a really beautiful job of letting yeah, I should say Thompson and Bosri do a wonderful job of letting the art speak for the grief that they're going through, and using very few words to show what's happening. I do love the reunion scene that we have here. You know, they're alive, everyone's super happy, group hug. And then this is what I'm talking about in comparison to the Batgirl that I just looked at. This is how I think Cassandra emotes. That it's, you know, she's feeling it, I think, deep down, but she's not going to be like Dinah, not going to be like Sin here. But just, you know, putting her head on Barbara's shoulder and then Barbara reaching around, I think, is really beautiful and encapsulates the characters as well as their relationship. So this is probably my favorite scene there, that group hug, and I think that Thompson way more than sorry, but way more than Bromble understands the character of Cassandra Cain. Yes, of course, LOL, it was Barbara who blew it up. You know, it makes sense, but I think also people are like, huh? I think maybe Donna might be used to this. So of course, Sin has more of an outraged expression. But you kind of have to. There's a security risk now, and there's a drone in there. So more information about about the Shadow Army is given, albeit subtly, which I appreciate because there's info dumping, but it's not like spelled out necessarily. For one, there's more than the group that we've seen, which could tell us that they will be a long-standing story in this book that Thompson will use, potentially because we just have these five right now, and then maybe later on we'll start to see other people. Two, Damon Prime is likely not the leader, and maybe his hang up about the Prime nomenclature um, gives us a hint to who that leader might actually be. We don't know what the motive is or what they're getting, and we only have one issue left in this particular arc, so maybe we'll see that there. The team doesn't really work well together, but individually, the manager, as I'll call him, has been able to get the members to the top of their game individually. And then on the opposite side of that, during this fight sequence, you definitely see how our team, the Birds, work together and fight. Well, they initially take out everybody else except for Barda and Ink, and then yeah, go after Barda and Ink, synchronized in a synchronized fashion. I think the main thing that stretched my belief in what was happening was this scene here, a closet somewhere inside the Shadow Army's base in Gotham. I perhaps I've misunderstood Selah's power or have combined it with other people that have transportation powers, but I feel like she would need to know where she was going in order to create a pathway there. Um, and I don't know that they've ever really locked down where the location was. So just the fact that she's able to get them there, I think was the one thing that I had trouble with. And then at the very end, as I said, I knew that when that initial call went out that no one would listen. And so we've got the whole team that's coming back. So it's, oh, and Poe, look at Poe looking like a dragon there. So definitely it should be fun in the climax, the next issue. But I do wonder why the whole team excludes Zealot. So that is interesting. But I would give this a 9 out of 10 birds. I think it's a nice balance between emotion, fighting, and information. And even though the next issue is the final in the arc, I doubt that it is going to be the end. So there you have it. And yeah, so we'll just start wrapping up this episode. So, first, I'll start with enemy watch list, which doesn't necessarily fit this thing, but we could say, like, I don't know how else I can style this, but some, you know, animation watch list, I suppose I could say. And it's going to be K-pop Demon Hunters, which is described as a vibrant animated musical fantasy that blends K-pop stardom with supernatural action. It was released in on Netflix in June 2025, and the film follows a group Huntrix Rumi, Mira, and Zoe, who lead double lives as global pop sensations and secret demon hunters. Their mission is that they protect fans from soul stealing demons trapped behind a magical barrier called the Hun Moon. But trouble brews when a rival band, the Saja Boys, turns out to be demons in disguise, aiming to weaken the Hun Moon and unleash the ruler Gui Ma. Things get a little bit personal when Rumi, Huntrix's leader, discovers she's half demon. Well, she's always known she's half demon, but it is discovered by her girl group, and it's discovered by the leader of the Saja boys. Her secret threatens to tear the group apart, obviously, and without them, the Han Moon would be broken. And she finds some support from Jinu, the Saja boys' conflicted leader, but there's other stuff that goes down there. Yes, so definitely, yeah, story about identity and friendship and finding your voice. Awesome soundtrack, which maybe I'll put a song at the end of this episode so that you can get a hint of what that is. Which, but if you've been on the social medias, I think that you have probably already heard songs by it. But I really enjoyed this. As I said, made Harry watch it, and then I rewatched it recently, and yeah, I just think it's super fun. I don't know too, even though the good Professor Coca's daughter, Professor Coca Jr., has tried to indoctrinate me into K-pop. I don't like religiously follow it, but yes, this was a lot of fun. So highly recommend that. Now I guess we'll move on to Stella's Dungeon of Smut, which is brought to you by Hornacek's Fried Calamari Sticks. It will not be as unhinged as last time. I think it was last time that I talked about Kiss of the Basilisk. I think I'm done with my unhinged unhinged reading in terms of romance, but let's see what I've got going. Um, oh, there were three that I read that were all age gaps, and they were okay. I think I liked the first two more than the third, all by Jen Morris. She was made for me. I saw her first, and I'll keep her safe. I Could Be Yours by Helena Hunting was okay. But the real shock, I think, is Neon Gods by Katie Robert, which is a retelling of Persephone and Hades. And the world building is interesting, and it's all consensual, which is lovely. So I do, because I really didn't want to read something that was like pretending that it was consensual, but it really wasn't. But I think she does a great job with that romance. So I do recommend that. And I read that, remember that I was talking about that first part where there was a cliffhanger and they were fine. And then the epilogue made it seem like they were non-fine. So the second part came out, Changing Rules by Anastasia White. It was okay. It was so much, even though she warned, it was just so much angst that it was hard. I mean, that female character was just put through a little bit too much. I think that's it. Yeah, because the breakup plan by, yeah, that was okay by Jennifer Susevich. Um, yeah, I will say that I've been reading more, so I'm going to move now into my literature recommendations. I've been reading less romance because I've been reading uh, other literature. I did forget in May, I read this book called Bunny by Mona Awad. And I don't even know how to describe it. It takes place at a graduate school, and it's this group of girls that call each other bunnies. So it's kind of like, mean girls almost. And this person on the outside who doesn't like them, but I think secretly wants to be a part of them. And they're all in this writer's circle, and it just gets really nuts and surreal after that because I don't want to spoil it, but I recommend it just because of how crazy and insane that it gets, but I enjoyed it. And there's a sequel coming out, which I feel like it's one of those books that doesn't need a sequel, but I'll probably still read it. And I also read while I was at my workshop, my Latin workshop, I was reading The Thief by Rick Riordan. And that will be on the next required reading with Tom and Stella. And it's also a summer reading assignment for my upcoming Latin 1 students. And I had never read it before. So I thought, oh, I should read it. And I enjoy that. We'll see if I have time to read more. But mostly I've been reading the Fruits Basket Collector's Edition, which is really 2 volumes in each collector's edition. And I think this morning I just finished 6. So I'm halfway through because there are 12 of them. And it's been so great to be able to read that. And I'll probably rewatch the show afterwards. And now we're in the heavy stuff because it's like the first few volumes, I think, are light and fluffy. And then when Akito gets involved, it's like, oh no, yeah, it's just no good. And now it's Isuzu. She's kind of a bigger point here. And well, if you've seen the show or read it before, you know that it's troubling. So, but I've been enjoying it. My first ever read, and it was a gift that my dad got me the complete set. So I thought, well, this summer is going to be the summer. So I've been reading about 1 a day. So that's been fun. And that is it. Remember, you can send any questions or comments to backrolltoracle@gmail.com. If you have any thoughts about Cassandra's representation in Batgirl, I'd love to hear it. Like the show on Facebook or follow it on Twitter at Batgirl Oracle. Subscribe to YouTube for an uncut version, as you see, and follow the Batman Universe on Facebook and Twitter as well. And support the Batman Universe by subscribing to Patreon. Once again, thanks to Mile High Comics for sponsoring Backroll to Oracle, the Barbara Gordon podcast. And next time, as I was probably doing some cast, trying to finish up that run, there might be an Arkham Asylum with a special guest, Arkham Asylum from Hell. And then we'll figure out about Infinite Crisis, and then we'll start our downward slope to the end of Birds of Prey. But until then, fly on, Babs lovers.